Shalom, family. You know, the prophet Daniel, in Daniel chapter 12, he said that there would be a time of great distress that will come and that it will be so bad. He said it's never happened before and it will never happen again. And even Yeshua quoted from Daniel, and he said that it's going to be so bad that nobody would be saved, but on account of the chosen ones, the days of the tribulation will be cut short. And so let's talk about that. Now, we know that all throughout history, Jehovah the Almighty, he has never tolerated false worship, false devotion, or false religion. Now, think of the 10 plagues that he brought upon Egypt and Pharaoh, exposing Egypt's false practicing priests. Or we could think about the time when he destroyed the Baal prophets and wicked Queen Jezebel by sending his true prophet Elijah. Or we could talk about Belshazzar, the king of Babylon, as they were partying and mocking the true God Jehovah one night, drinking from his goblets and his cups that were supposed to be in the house of Jehovah. But the writing appeared on the wall, and they were all executed in one night. Or we could even think about when Jehovah gave Ezekiel a vision. He gave Ezekiel a vision of what the apostate elders of unfaithful Israel were doing in the darkness. They didn't think anybody was watching. Look at Ezekiel chapter 8, verses 12 through 14. It says, "He said to me, Son of man, have you seen what the elders of Israel are doing in the darkness, each at the shrine of his own idol? They say, the Lord does not see us. The Lord has forsaken the land." He said, "You will see them doing things that are even more detestable." Verse 14, "Then he brought me to the entrance of the north gate of the house of the Lord, and I saw women sitting there mourning the god Tammuz. He said to me, do you see this, son of man? You will see things that are even more detestable than this." So can you imagine this, brothers and sisters? The women were in the house of the Lord, the house of Jehovah, and they were mourning over the god Tammuz. And the god Tammuz, he was worshipped by the first letter or the first initial of his name, which is a T. So the women had the cross right in the house of Jehovah back in during the times of Ezekiel. Can you believe that? So Jehovah didn't tolerate false worship back then, and he's not going to do so any longer in our day either. Notice what the vision Jehovah gave to a 99-year-old Israelite named John, the son of Zebedee, in Revelation chapter 17. Notice verses 1 through 3. He says, "One of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and said to me, 'Come, I will show you the judgment of the great prostitute who sits on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth committed sexual immorality. And earth's inhabitants were made drunk with the wine of her sexual immorality.'" Verse 3, "And he carried me away in the power of the Spirit into the wilderness. And I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet-colored wild beast that was full of blasphemous names, and that had 7 heads and 10 horns." Notice in verse 5 and 6, "On her forehead was written a name, a mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of the prostitutes and of the disgusting things of the earth. And I saw that the woman was drunk with the blood of the holy ones and with the blood of the witnesses of Jesus." So yes, brothers and sisters, he saw a vision of a prostitute sitting on top of a wild beast with 7 heads and 10 horns, and she was drunk from the blood of all her victims, the holy ones, and the witnesses for Mashiach. And on her forehead was a name, Babylon the Great, the mother of the prostitutes, and the disgusting things of the earth. And this is what she looked like there. But this woman was Babylon the Great. She was greater than ancient Babylon. We know that ancient Babylon, back there in the area of Shinar in the Mesopotamian Valley, all kind of things first started in Babel. You know, they started to build the tower and then Yahweh had to confuse their languages. But out of Babel or out of Babylon came all kind of disgusting teachings of demons, trinities, immortal soul, talking to the dead, the cross, December 25th, all worshiping of images and idols, all of that came out of Babel or Babylon, ancient Babylon. But this woman here, she was Babylon the Great, the greater part of what happened in Babel. She was a religious empire worldwide. So this wild beast with 7 heads and 10 horns that she's riding upon is symbolizing all the political kingdoms and governments around the world today that she is controlling to do her bidding. And just think of all the things that Babylon the Great has done in her lifetime. All the disgusting things that she has done. Let me show you. They've controlled kings, queens, empires, dictators to do her bidding. Babylon the Great has controlled many, many peoples in many, many countries. And it's not one religion. It's all of the false religions, all of the false worship all together. We think of the slave trade, how they were involved in that. They were the ones that got that started. Think of all the things that she has done over the years. Babylon the Great, the religious empire of the world. We see that. We see all that has taken place. All the idols that she uses to control the people. Look at that. All the alliances, all the concordance and agreements that they had in the darkness, in the back rooms, while people, millions were being genocide and destroyed. And we see it's still going on today. Religion's hand and their control over the governments and over the people is still going on to this day, while people are suffering and people are dying. We see people are frustrated, they're angry, they're upset, they want a way out of this, and they don't know when it's going to come. When is the end going to come? When are we going to stop having all of this destruction and death because of what these religions want to do on top of this wild beast that she is riding, you see. And that's what she is. Babylon the Great is a prostitute, and she is getting everybody worked up. So, Revelation chapter 18, verse 11, it said that she would even have slaves. Notice here in chapter 18, verse 12, this is what's going to happen one day. Verse 11 says, "And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandise any more." Verse 12, "The merchandise of gold and silver, precious stone, and of pearls and fine linen." And she goes on to say, even in verse 13, "cinnamon and ointments and frankincense, wine and oil, fine flour, wheat, horses, chariots, and slaves, and souls of men." So we see that they have been involved even in this transatlantic slave trade and the Arab slave trade as well. We see that they have been involved all over the world. So, brothers and sisters, how is this going to happen? Notice, as soon as the world leaders say peace and security, notice what's going to happen in Revelation chapter 17. And notice in verse 16 what is going to happen to this prostitute Babylon the Great. Notice in verse 16, it says, "And the 10 horns that you saw and the wild beast, these will hate the prostitute and will make her devastated and naked, and they will eat up her flesh and completely burn her with fire." So that is what's going to happen to this wild beast very soon. The political kings and military leaders and dictators and kings and queens and presidents, they all are going to be on the same page, and one day they're going to turn on that prophecy. They're going to turn on Babylon the Great, this religious empire, and completely destroy her, burn her with fire. This is the Great Tribulation, and it's going to happen as soon as the world leaders say peace and security. It's going to be worse than when the Roman armies came into Jerusalem in 70 AD. It's going to be worse than what Hitler did. It's going to be worse than what happened in Rwanda. So yes, brothers and sisters, we need to get ready for this. Revelation chapter 18, verse 4 warns, get out of her, my people, if you do not want to share in her sins, and if you do not want to receive part of her plagues. Get out of her. So family, get out of this false religious empire, because very soon her political lovers and military commanders are going to turn on her and destroy her forever. It's going to happen. This is going to be the Great Tribulation. And these religious buildings, these religious organizations, these temples, they're all going to be destroyed very soon. So we got to get ready. We got to be ready when these things happen. The Great Tribulation. Just like Daniel said, and just like Yeshua said, there will be great tribulation that has never occurred, nor never will again. In fact, unless those days were cut short, no flesh would be saved. But on account of the chosen ones, those days will be cut short. And yes, the United Nations, they are part of this wild beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. And religion is riding their back right now. But very soon, they're going to all be on the same page. It don't matter if they're Iraq, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Russia, China, Nigeria, United States, Britain, on down the line. They're all going to be on the same page, friends. And they're going to say peace and security. Don't worry. Everything is going to be all good. Your bank will be okay. The oil will be okay. The food will be okay. This is the best time we've ever had. We're all getting together and getting along with one another. And all of a sudden, bam! They're going to destroy old Babylon the Great. They're going to destroy her and completely burn her with fire. So, friends, get out of these false churches. Get out of these false synagogues, these false temples, and follow the truth. Follow the truth that leads to eternal life through Jehovah's arrangement. In our videos, we vow to help you do that as we continue to show these videos with you. Okay, friends, stay safe.